few minutes presentation from our brother Joe from Uganda. Let's welcome him with a round of applause. Very full with presentation.
Your Excellency, the President of African Voice International, fellow Africans and fellow global citizens. After listening to the elders, I asked myself, what more can I add? But African wisdom says, a child who washes his hands can eat with the elders. So I will eat with the elders. My hands are clean. A long time ago, in a high school in northern Uganda, there was a strike. The students were striking because of the bad policies in the school. So they arrested a teacher. The teacher used to beat them a lot. So when they arrested the teacher and they were carrying him and taking him to a place which was unknown, the teacher asked a question. Where are we going? The students told him, don't worry. You will understand as we go along. So they went with the teacher. As they moved, he kept on asking the question, but where are we going? Where are we going? The same answer came out. You shall find out as we go along. Today as Africans, we ask the same question. Where are we going? As the African race. This same question was on the mind of Kwame Nkrumah when he was fighting to liberate Africa. The same question was on the mind of Patrice Lumumba when he was fighting for the independence of DRC. The same question was in the mind of Julius Nyerere when he was fighting to liberate Tanzania. The same question is on our mind today. We should be aware of the wisdom that says, if you do not understand where the rain started beating you, then you never understand where you came from. So, before we answer where we are going, we must ask, where did we come from as Africans? When we know where we came from, then we can know where we are. Then we can design where we are going. When you open the pages of history, you will read that we were, at one point, commodified and sold into slavery. Then we were colonized. Our languages were colonized. Our culture was colonized. Our food was colonized. And our minds were colonized. And then there came a time when we fought for independence. We fought for true independence. But we got flag independence. So that beyond the flags, we are not free. Up to now. Those who fought for independence, they knew they were fighting for true independence. But something happened, which can best be understood using this story. There was a hunter who went to hunt a lion. He went to the bush to kill a lion that was disturbing people in his village. Along the way, this hunter met an antelope. And he killed the antelope. After killing the antelope, he threw his tools away and started celebrating, dancing, jumping around. He forgot that he left home to kill a lion. So while he was jumping and celebrating killing the antelope, the lion heard the noise. The lion was hungry, looking for something to eat. So the hunter was busy making noise and celebrating killing the antelope. The lion came and ate the hunter. So the hunter became the hunted. This is what happened to those who fought for independence. Most of them. They got flock independence. And they got used to power. They forgot that they left home to fight for real independence. So that when they met in Addis Ababa in 1963, when Kwame Nkrumah told them, let us live here as one Africa, with one army, one capital, they did not listen to him. Because they forgot that they were supposed to hunt the lion. So they became the hunted. When Julius Nyerere was speaking here in Ghana, he said, they were sorry to Kwame Nkrumah because they did not listen to him. So he was acknowledging that they were supposed to fight and kill the lion, but they were happy with the antelope. So where are we today? Where is Africa today? To understand where Africa is today, I tell you 3 stories. There was a man, a merchant, a businessman, who loved gold so much. He wanted gold so much that he couldn't even eat. So he sold his land. The only thing he had, he sold his land, all his land, got the money, and went looking for gold. He was told that somewhere along the coast, they were mining gold. So when he went there, he was struggling to get gold. He couldn't easily get it. Now the man who bought his land wanted land for his animals. He bought the land for his animals, to bring his animals to the land. So one day during the dry season, there was no water for the animals. So the man asked his workers to dig the well to get water for the animals. So as the workers were digging, they found something yellowish in color they'd never seen before. Something funny. So they went and told the man, come and see what you're finding. The man said, I don't need any story, I need water. Go back and dig. They went back and continued digging. The more they dug, the more they found the yellowy substance. They went back and told the man, come and see. The things are too much. So the man came and saw. And they were funny. You had never seen them before. It was discovered that those yellowy substances were gold. So that the largest deposit of gold in that country was on the land the other man sold. So the man sold his land with the gold he wanted and went looking for gold. He never got gold where he went. He saw in the newspapers the story of this man who found gold. On the front pages, man discovers gold accidentally. The word accidentally was in red. So that man saw the newspapers and bought the papers, desperate to know where that gold was found. When he discovered that the gold was found in the land he sold, he fell down and died. We are trying to understand where Africa is today. That man who sold his land represents many Africans today. As I move across Africa, this is exactly what I see happen. We are selling the land. The land. The land represents what we have. The minerals, the raw materials, everything we have. Especially in Africa. This week I was at the British Council attending a book launch. And I saw something that shocked me. I found young Africans. I think they have got visas to go to the UK. The way they were dancing, they are celebrating, getting the visa. I asked one of them, why are you so happy? A young lady. He said, I've been chasing this visa for 5 years. I finally got it. Finally, I'm leaving Ghana. I asked her, when do you think you will come back to Ghana? She said, don't ask me that question. Don't ask me. After leaving hell, who wants to come back to hell? That was the answer. So to her, Ghana is hell. This is the story of many young Africans today. In 2022, I was in Burundi. And I saw a Kenyan lady. I met her at the US Embassy. She was denied the visa. And she was wailing and crying like a little baby. I asked the girl, what's the problem? She said, she did not get the visa in Kenya. She went to Uganda, she didn't get it. Her only hope was that she would get it in Burundi. And she didn't get it. So she was crying and wailing like a little baby. I asked her, what is wrong with Kenya? What? Because when I was going to Burundi, I traveled from Egypt. On the same plane, there were Chinese who landed in Kenya. They were so happy. They were so happy to land in Kenya. I've never seen people happy like that. The way they were taking photos when they landed, as if they had landed at home. This is the Africa we are selling to those who see the gold that we cannot see. We can make a difference as an Africa. We can redefine where Africa will go. You know, I love reading African literature. And I was reading Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe. It's a book I love. In the book, Chinua Achebe posed this $1 trillion question. Where are the young suckers that should rise when the old banana trees die? Where are the young suckers that should rise when the old banana trees die? We are the young suckers. I mentioned this in some forum and somebody told me the old banana trees have refused to die. So what do we do? They are not dying. Should we kill them? We don't rise by killing people. We don't rise by bringing people down. We don't rise by fighting other people. So it's our time to rise and make a meaningful contribution to the struggle to build Africa. There was another girl, still in Burundi, when I was leaving the country. I think that girl finally got a chance to leave Burundi. When we were going to board the plane, the girl looked at the plane. She turned back and looked at the airport. She looked up and she knelt down and cried, praying, thanking God. Finally, she's leaving Burundi, crying and thanking God. So I sat with this girl in the plane and I asked her, where are you going? He said she's going to Turkey. I said, to do what? To work. To do what exactly? He said she's going to work in a restaurant. I said, then why were you crying? He said, you don't understand how Burundi is. You don't understand. Let me not talk about it. I said, but I was in the country for 16 days. I saw opportunities to build the country. So you never understand. You never understand. This is a story, a sad reality in Africa today. So we must redesign where we want to be. You see, we live in an Africa where we live by chance and die by design. We live by chance and die by design. I look forward to an Africa in which we will live by design and die by chance. If you look at what happens in every sector, in every African country, when they steal money meant for building schools, we are designing our death. When we steal money meant for building hospitals, we are designing our death. When we steal money meant for agriculture, we are designing our death. so that we are contributing to designing our own death. Of course, there are outside forces that keep meeting. They keep meeting to design our death as well. So we must keep meeting to design our life as Africans. There are people meeting somewhere to design our death, to depopulate the world, so that they can get land in Africa. The agenda is so serious, so that in the next 25 years, if we are not careful, we will not have land for our people in Africa. So where are we going? Where are we going as Africans? In ancient Greece, the Greeks classified people into 3 groups. Listen carefully and examine yourself to see where you belong. According to the ancient Greeks, there were 3 kinds of people. They believed that in order for you to make any meaningful contribution to your society, you must understand your role. So according to them, there were idiots, there were tribesmen, and there were citizens. Who were the idiots according to the Greeks? They were not necessarily stupid people, no. They were people who were self-centered, who are selfish, who only care about themselves. Everything me. They don't care about the society. They are not responsible for anyone else in the society. So that when they're in offices, they steal money for themselves. They enrich themselves. They feed their baskets first. Those are the idiots. Then there are the tribesmen. These are not necessarily people who belong to any ethnic group, no. There's nothing wrong with belonging to an ethnic group. But these are people who belong to a clique, or a cycle, or a political party, or a religious affiliation. So that any view, any belief, any idea, which is not in line with what they believe in their group, they fight it. So that they are always right in their group. Anyone else who does not belong to their group is an enemy. And they fight it. Those are the tribesmen. They will fight to protect their tribes, those groups to which they belong. To them, they will fight to protect their tribes. Even if they have to destroy other people, they will do it. Then there are the citizens. These are the real people. These are people who sacrifice for others in the community. They can lay down their lives for others. When they're in offices, they don't steal. They use resources as they're meant to be used. These are citizens, people who build a society. So the simple question to you is, are you a citizen? Are you a tribesman? Or are you a self-centered, selfish idiot? This is all of us. If we must design the future of Africa, then we can only do that as citizens. We can never do that as idiots and tribesmen. When you look at any sector in your country, you will see the number of idiots and tribesmen is amazing. It's amazing. Give it a chance. They can bring down a great country to its knees. They can destroy things achieved in 20 years in one day. It's happening in my country. It's happening here. It's happening in most African countries. So we are the leaders that we seek. We are the change makers we seek. The time is now to make a contribution. I met a farmer here who inspired me a lot. He's farming African grass cutters, delicious animals for which people burn forests to hunt in my village. So this man said, he is going to make this contribution to building Africa through farming. So he's going around training farmers, teaching them with one goal, to be self-reliant through agriculture. You tell me, which African country today is not a net importer of food? Not one. Not one. There is no African country that feeds herself today. So that's what that farmer is doing. It's amazing. In which area will you make your contribution? May we rise and lead Africa to the promised land. The struggle is like a relay race. I love watching a relay race. You run with the baton and hand it over to the next person. But you are not successful until every member of your team succeeds. That's how we're supposed to fight to liberate Africa. First, we need to liberate our minds. When the reggae singer was here, he played a song by Bob Marley. I love that song. In the song, Bob Marley said, "Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our mind." The question then becomes, are we mentally free? Are we mentally free? Are we free in the mind? Because if you're not free in the mind, then you can never know true freedom. I picture Africa like a bird which is in a cage. The bird was arrested and put in a cage, caught and put in a cage. And the cage was locked up. So the bird was traveling in the cage for freedom. Until there came a time when the bird stopped struggling and got used to the conditioning in the cage. A time came when the cage was open. A strong wind blew and opened the cage. But the bird never came out because the bird was already used to the conditioning in the cage. This is how many Africans are today. We were enslaved, but today the cage is open. But we have not moved out of the cage. So move out of the cage. Move out and free yourself. So let us run with the baton and run well. Let us nurture those who should take over from us. I believe we can transform Africa and we can build the Africa we want. The onus is on us, young Africans. If we don't do the work, nobody will come from any place and do Africa for us. Nobody. The Chinese know this. I met a young Chinese boy in Athens, in Greece. And when I meet these people, I'm not very, very curious. I want to talk to them and understand their minds. So this boy said, the phone you're using to take photos, that phone was made by interns in China. Our interns, students who are interning, they make those phones. So what are you making here in Africa that you can boast of? Such story. We can make a difference. So may we go back today, knowing in our hands lies the future of Africa. Let us be citizens who will be in the arena of action. Because sometimes we talk like this and we stop here. Beyond the rhetorics, what do? We must act. Because the Africa we want will not be built by singing, but by swinging into action. So what actions are we going to take to build Africa? Thank you very much.
So I'll be introducing our panelists. We have Freedom Legend PDO. We'd like to step up, please. Then we have renowned President Isaac. We also have Freedom Giants Echo Andrew and Freedom Giants Joe. So I'll be asking them questions. So when we talk of Africa, what comes to your mind?
Thank you very much. When we were there without going down the strikes, we said we wanted to take the two of us to be there before, of course, we invite the man on board from Uganda. Yes, we wanted to feel special. We wanted to know that we don't take it for granted for he flying all the way from Uganda to Ghana, and we wanted to at least be here and all give him an honor before he comes on the podium. And yeah, so first of all, before we begin, we decided to say that Freedom Giant Job, we are honored to have you here. We are glad to have you here, and we know that there's going to be a great population, in your presence in Ghana. And also we give the podium to Freedom Giant Echo, as he also mentions, and gives a comment to him before he comes on board. Thank you.
Thank you, Freedom Giants. Welcome. It is a single privilege and an honor than me to introduce you to join us on the panel. Can we, with a round of applause, welcome Freedom Giants on our table.
So are we all settled in? Can we begin with the panelists? I'm going to start with, again, our president. I would like to ask you a question. When we talk of Africa, what comes to you?
Thank you. When we talk of Africa, for me, what comes into mind is the spirit of relentlessness. Spirit of relentlessness, because we've been in slavery for years, for generations, yet we've been able to have that change of mind to fight for our sovereignty. That shows that we are relentlessness oriented. So that's what comes to mind when we talk about Africa. I feel Africa is not just a place, but it's a people with a particular set of mind. And that's why we are here at this program. So that's basically what I feel when we say what we talk about, what comes to mind. Thank you.
All right. All right, thank you for your insight. I still have another question for you. Who therefore is an African?
Wow. Yeah, so an African is definitely someone who is relentless. Yeah, because as I said, we've gone through a struggle, we've gone through a phase, we've gone through a whole duration which was full of entanglement, oppression. Putting us down, putting us as the minority, and we'll be able to fight for who we are, and we now are on top. That's that everyone who is African, you don't have to even be from Africa, you don't have to even be from this territory. As far as you are relentless oriented, you align with the cause for freedom, you align with the cause for your sovereignty, you align with the cause for your independence. You're an African. So we don't have to see people who are only blacks as Africans. And even that blacks who say they're African, but they're not Africans, because there are people who want to see oppression, and people who want to see depression, there are people who want to entangle their fellow colleagues. They collate with these whites, making sure that indeed there's an oppressive system in Africa. We never have to collate with those people who are not African. That's people who are relentless, want to see freedom in their journey. And that's how I would define an African. That's how I would vote my fellow brother as an African. So if I see him, or if I see him and I see certain points which do not collate to proper fight, I won't say he's an African. But of course, we are all Africans. But African is someone who is relentlessly oriented, who have mind to see freedom prevalent everywhere. And of course, in African World National, we have people from Croatia, from Giant Zorica, from Giant Professor Odej Kumar, who are on our freedom dialogues, who we can say they're Africans because they relate to the concept of relentlessness. We want to see that fellow equals people of dignity. We don't see blacks or Africans from this territory as people beneath them. They see them as their fellow colleagues, and those are Africans. We see Africans people who have a kind of mind, a mind towards seeing global equilibrium in the global space. Thank you.
All right. So, being an African is a mind. It doesn't
mindset.
matter your skin color, where
That's
you're
true.
from, whether you are from.
Not at
country.
all. Not at all.
That's very powerful. Thank you for your insight, President Ivy. So on to you, Mr. Smith. What's in your view, Mr. Pidgeot? Yeah. What, in your view, keeps Africans segmented from each other and torn apart?
Thank you very much for the opportunity once again. Africans have come a very long way. Right? From the inception of time, we've been pushed under the dream where the world thinks we cannot do anything without them. But then, we have come this far, not because we do not, or let me say, not because we are not interested in bringing about the changes, all right, globally. But we have come this far because we have the interest of the continent at heart and we wanted to fight for our freedom. Yeah. Africans can actually come together to bring about the liberation that we need. We can join our forces together to be able to achieve what we put our minds to. But in doing so, we need to also remember that the forces that work against us, the forces that try to put us apart, are very great. And these forces are not created by any other person but ourselves. I always say that Africans are our own problem. In as much as we try to delegate most of our sufferings, most of the things that we go through, to the other parts of the hemisphere, for instance, the Western world, like the Europeans, and then maybe to the Americans and the rest, we ourselves have an inner role that we need to play within the continent. And I've always been saying that has always been something that I've been having a social discourse with Infantia. I believe that as Africans, yes, we can get united to achieve the cause that we want to achieve. But for how long have we been trying to profess this solution? The African Union has been there for decades. If the purpose for this union is to bring all Africans together to achieve an aim, a goal, an objective, where we no longer become individuals or a continent that has to eat from under the table of our then colonial masters, then what is it that we are seeing today? Has that organization or the unity that we decided that we need as people, as continent, been able to see the light of day? Yes, Africans can get united and get things done. We can get united to fix our economy. We can get united to fix the poor people on the street. We can get united to create our own technology. We can get united to change our fate as a continent. But that depends on the path we decide to use. In our time and age, selfishness, self-centeredness, personal aggrandizement has become the modus operandi of any activity that we find ourselves. We are no longer interested in the public interest when we have positions, all right? You know, in the quest to move forward, there must always be a leader, there must always be a follower. We all can't be at the stage where everybody will be leading everybody. Some people need to take the stage and others have to follow. That was the reason why we have people in the past like Haile Selassie, we have Marcus Garvey, we have Martin Luther King Jr., we have our great society before Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, we have Thomas Sankara, and the numerous Pan-Africanists and sons of this world in the past that has led us this far. But the kind of leadership, all right, that we have today is what actually is wrecking the unity that we have to forge as Africans to be able to achieve the dreams that our forefathers envisaged for us. To put, we have already discussed the theories of the problems of Africa. We cannot sit here today to assume that whatever we face today are new things that we have just discovered. There are issues that have been discovered time immemorial. But what actually do we do whenever we sit down? Do we try to rediscuss these problems, or we try to profess solutions, active solutions to them? And when we profess active solutions to this problem, do we walk the talk, or do we just sit down? We were here in Africa when Africans decided to bring on board the African Continental Free Trade Area. As a matter of fact, it is one of the major institutions that I believe is going to propel Africa to the next stage. And it is one of the institutions again that I believe is going to unite the African front and help us to achieve the African agenda. But as we speak right now, how much have we heard of that institution? What is it doing? Then the all-time African Union that has been there to push the African agenda, to solidify the African front. For how long has that institution been rolling? And how much money has Africa spent on that institution? And what have we gained so far? Are we really united? So yes, with the question of if we can be united to achieve the purpose of Africa, if I'm right, yes, it can be achieved, but I feel there is a leadership lacuna somewhere. And until we are able to fix those things, we cannot achieve what we intend to achieve. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So, our leaders are a problem, but that's basically what
it's just one segment of it. If I have enough time, I can continue. Can I? Okay. So, then let me proceed with it. How do you have to give me time so I know how to go with the time? Now, I have mentioned the side of leaders. Another aspect of that is followers. I believe that in as much as our leaders have been one of the things or problems of our progress that are not able to bring about the unity we need to be able to forge forward, I also believe that the followers also have critical roles to play. Now, let us look at this in this scenario or in this analogy. We come into this auditorium, all right? Then we drink sachet water and we decide to dispose it anyhow and we leave the premises. Now, what we expect is that someone from somewhere should be able to come to pick those sachets, all right? So that the person will be paid. Meanwhile, ourselves, we can pick those sachets and then dispose them off. Now, the main issue here is this, that in as much as our leaders are unable to propel us to the height that we want, we have decided to back them up to pick us astray. All right. Our behavior as individuals, the way we go about what we say, our actions, are also the reasons why we are not going forward. Conflict, ethnic conflict. Individuals go to workplaces and they decide to wreck the workplace instead of to also add their part or their strength to whatever is happening for us to excel in whatever places we find ourselves. We don't do that. You can go to offices now. Okay, and let's always remember that if we want to progress, it is not an issue of, let's say, trying to do things in a magnanimous manner. No. All right, the little places, the small places we find ourselves are very vital. If probably you are a class teacher, whatever you do in your classroom, add up to that progress that we need in Africa. Because whatever you are doing there at a very long run is going to affect the whole of Africa as a whole. When you happen to be, let's say, a pure water seller, whatever you are doing is also helping the continent. So we should not always look at things from a magnanimous point of view that probably I need to become a civil servant in a very big institution before I can also help with the unity agenda that we need to push to get Africa to where we need to get it. That is not what we are talking about. in our various positions that we find ourselves, no matter how small they are, we also need to back up the efforts of our leaders, those who are doing well in whatever position they find themselves, to be able to get the continent united, to be able to push the continent to where we want to find it, so that we can achieve that dream that Nkrumah has always been saying, that the black man is capable of running his own affairs. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you very much. That was very, very insightful. So before I ask my next panelist, I'd like to introduce, give a brief profile about Mr. Lazarus Okello. He was born in Gulu, northern Uganda, in the middle of a war over 2 decades ago. The war instilled Job with strong passion for fight for peace globally. He has been an activist his whole life since he was being educated through bullets in the middle of a war, as I said earlier. Job holds a diploma in Bible studies from Amazing Facts International Bible School, Switzerland, Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering at Makerere University, Uganda, and a Master of Science in Industrial Engineering and Systems Management from Egypt, Japan University of Science and Technology, Egypt, and an honorary doctorate in diplomacy and an international relations from the International Internship University in India. He is currently the brand ambassador for several global organizations, including SDG Club India, All Lives Do Exist Global Peace Movement, USA, and Party Girls Book LLC, USA. And he's also a country advisor for the Glory Future Foundation in Bangladesh. He has received numerous awards for his efforts in transforming the world. In 2023, Mr. Job received the IIU Young Innovative African Most Influential Award from the International Internship University. Also in 2022, Mr. Job received the Best Talent Award in Research and Mentoring from SDG Club India International. He also received the Inspiring Man of Earth by Swana Bharat, Kariva Trust, and International Internship University. He's an author of many international best-selling books, including Life at the End of the Tunnel and With Time and Egg Walks. As a Pan-Africanist on a global mission, Mr. Job has delivered several passionate, eye-opening Pan-African lectures to people of all walks of life in several countries. His Pan-African views and ideas have been heavily influenced by the Pan-African philosophies of Kwame Nkrumah, Marcus Garvey, and Professor Lumumba, among others. We are so honored to have you here, Mr. Job. Thank you for being with us. So, my question to you, Mr. Job, is how can Africans function independently but with a joint mind in the midst of globalization?
Thank you very much for the wonderful question. When we talk about globalization, we need to understand in the first place what really this globalization is. They claim the world is now a global village. But now in this global village, I picture the world as a stage. And all of us, the different continents, are the actors on the stage. On this stage, there is cutthroat competition where the continents are fighting for global dominance. Everybody wants to occupy a special position. On the same global stage, there are countries that feel that they're better than others. On this same global stage, they preach equality of countries and continents. But you remember what the great writer George Orwell wrote in his book Animal Farm. He said all animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. This is what is happening on this global stage. So that there are countries that feel they are equal, but there are those that are more equal than others. If you look at a global institution like the UN, which claims to unite all countries together, claims. In the governing structure of the UN, there are only 5 permanent members. The rest are non-permanent members. So, on this global stage, there are 5 countries that have veto power. So the 5 countries can dictate what goes on in the world. The US, the UK, China, Russia, and France. So that in effect, these 5 countries are the real leaders of the global stage, because they decide who does what on the stage. On this stage, Africa finds herself as food on the dinner table, in the words of Professor Theodore Lumumba. Because Africa has no voice on this global stage. When African presidents travel to the UN General Assembly every year in September, they travel as 54 African countries. And they make speeches representing their countries. Nobody listens to their speeches. And nobody acts, because on the global stage, they are weak. Individually, they are weak. History tells us that for any people to be strong and to be respected in this world, they must be united. There has never been unity in Africa ever since we were colonized and we regained flag independence. So as long as we are not united, nobody will listen to us on the global stage, and we shall remain food on the table. This is what is happening today. So Africa finds herself in a place where she is not respected, she's not honored, and she's looked at, how people are looked at as second-class people. You know, India once had a president called Abdul Kalam. This man was a great man. He once made a statement that strength respects strength. Power respects power. Power honors power. That means on this global stage, power respects power. So, the 54 countries of Africa, none of them is strong enough to be respected on a global stage. He talked about the African Union. The organization of the African Unity that was envisioned by Kwame Nkrumah is not what we have today as the African Union. It was supposed to bring together all these countries into one union, so that together we would have the power to be respected on a global stage. But until we have that power, nobody will respect us on that global stage. Those people are fighting for dominance. We don't have that power as Africa right now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Right. Moving on. The next panelist, Mr. Echo. In your deepest thought, how do you envisage Africa in the next decade?
Africa in the next decade, in my thoughts, should be a peaceful and a secure Africa. Why am I saying that? In our current dispensation of politics, you realize the banters, the political inexpediencies that go on, especially on our televisions and in our radio sets. It's thought to be that Africa is heading or journeying towards a point where our peace may be stumbled upon. But in the next 10 years, I'm in high hopes that Africans will be secure. Away from that, secondly, a prosperous Africa. Now, when we have peace and we are secure, most certainly we become prosperous. Have you ever seen anybody prosperous? And, well, you can see somebody can prosper and have no peace. But in the case of Africa, once there is peace, each one of us will go about their duties, their work peacefully, knowing that at the end of the day, we are all glorious. So one, a peaceful and a secure Africa. Two, a prosperous Africa based on an inclusive growth and a sustainable development. Now, my third one would be an Africa of good governance. Now, one that has respect for human rights, justice, and the rule of law. In any country, if you like, even in our Asian and in our European world, the rule of law stands paramount. And this is no different from Africa, and for that matter, Ghana, because Ghana is the host of this program. Now, in various spheres, we come across issues of human rights violations. And in the next 10 years, my hopes for this Africa would be that our governance structure, if not good now, with like-minded people like people from African Voices International and other social organizations that seek to promote good governance, will raise hands to have a good governance and democracy, respect for human rights, justice, and the rule of law. My fourth one, from top of mind, an African with a strong identity, a one that has a common heritage, shared values, and ethics. Ethics, in any case, is so much important. Look around. Any country you get to. Now, when my dear sister was actually introducing properly our highly guest speaker here, I realized that, no, he's actually a big man. And I think that without values, without an identity and a common heritage, and his high ethical standards would have achieved the profile, or would have achieved his profile as of now. And I encourage each of us to have high values, high standards of ethics, and then have a strong identity. Now, we cannot do this alone. But in the next 10 years, I believe that Africa would have a strong identity, a common heritage, a shared values, and ethics. My fifth one, an Africa as strong and united, and one that is resilient, influential global player, and also partner. I'm happy today I share a stage with amazing speakers. Now, why are we together? Because we are stronger together. I think we are united. We all here are united because we share one mission and a vision towards Africa. Influential players and influential partners. I believe that Africans are resilient people. Let me tell you what, I've been in the US a couple of times. And you find the whites championing their values, their justice systems, and for that matter, the rule of law in the US. Now, with the black communities I get to associate myself with, I realize that, see, we here think that Africans are not resilient enough, are not strong and unified. I realize in the black community in the US that, see, we are more stronger and resilient people in another man's world than even with our country. Why? We feel our country is not helping us enough. And as Africans, I believe there is more to do on that field. So that's global influential player. Now, I'm in the US, I get interview grants to some radio stations. And the whites cherish me. Because why do they cherish me? Because of my hunger for community development. And so are we, and all of us here in this room. In the next 10 years, I'm sure that as Africans as we are, as strong and united and resilient as we are, we'll be a global influencer and have partners all over. Maybe my next point will be that an integrated continent. In the next 10 years, Africa should be or must be an integrated continent, politically united. And based on the ideals of Pan-Africanism and the vision of African Renaissance. Africans, the whole Africa is integrated, but it's not politically united. I repeat again, Africans, we are integrated or an integrated continent, but we are not politically united. In the next 10 years, based on our ideals of Pan-Africanism and the vision of African Renaissance, I am envisioning that in the not so distant future, maybe in the next 6, 8, and at most 10 years, Africa must be well integrated, politically united, and based on the ideals of our Pan-Africanism and the vision of African Renaissance. In all of this said, I think that Africa will succeed. If not today, we are striving. If not today, tomorrow, in the next so distant future, I cannot give a precise year or a number. Certainly, what I feel in my heart is that with what some of us are doing, of which I encourage us all to take a bite, take part, be radical, take a course, fight for a cause. That when we do all of these, will help contribute and have a more prosperous, successful, and a forward-looking Africa in the next 10 years. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Freedom Giant Echo, thank you very much for that very insightful piece. So, move on to our next panelist, Freedom Giant video. Again. Are African businesses and products thriving in foreign markets? If they are, please tell us why. If they aren't, please leave.
Thank you for that question. As a matter of fact, when by the sound of that question, I asked myself, all right, do we even need the foreign business market as Africans to strive? Do we really need the foreign market as Africans to thrive? For how long has Africa been doing business on the foreign market or on the international scene? Now, I believe we are all business inclined in one way or the other. If you find yourself in a business job, what are some of your expectations? You expect that when business flourish, your life team to how that business flourishes. For instance, let's assume I'm a pure water vendor. I'm expected at the end of the day or in some few months from my starting point of business to be able to open other ventures across my vicinity and even move on to another sector, or be able to open other, how will I put it, businesses based on the fact that I'm flourishing in my first part of business. But here we are, we've been doing business with the West for a very long time on the international front. Our products have been always sent across the globe, and we are still hungry. And whenever we need money for development, we have to go begging the West and the East to come in and support us. And in the event that they feel like they want to give us something, it is tied to a condition. It's kind of a quid pro quo situation. You scratch my back, I scratch your back. To me, in as much as the foreign market is a bigger platform for Africa to do business, I think we already have a bigger platform to do business on our own. 54 countries. And we are still here asking where we need to do business and if we are thriving at the international. We should try and begin to have confidence in ourselves. Believe that we can do business among ourselves. Let's just look at it from this point of view. Ghana, for instance, is rich in cocoa. Gold, bauxite, name them. Nigeria has oil in large quantity. So are other countries with the kind of minerals they have and the resources they have. Why don't we trade among ourselves? Just the way we decided to go with the African Continental Free Trade Area, with the headquarters right here in Accra. We can do business among ourselves. The Bluetooth, we need to be able to depend on each other, selling goods and services across the African continent. By so doing, we are able to retain the profits that we get out of these businesses within the continent. Now, we have some kind of trade liberalizations, or let me put it, trade restrictions, all right? Or better still, there are some conditions that are tied to the kind of businesses that we have in the West. So that they believe that we are the ones that have the raw materials, like the gold and the rest, and they are the revolutionary thinkers. They are so much enlightened that they are able to create technologies that will turn this primary products into finished goods. So what they will tell us is that, okay, whilst we are the producers of cocoa, let's continue producing cocoa. Then after we produce cocoa, let's send it to them. They will turn it into what? Bonvita, Milo, chocolate, and the rest, and then they will bring it back to us. Then they will roll our mindset that because we are unable to get these technologies to be able to process what we have as raw materials into finished product, let us send it to them. And then when they do it, they bring it back to us. Now, we also accept these conditions because one, we are scared. Two, we don't have the wherewithal to be able to process these things. And we don't think it is necessary for us to be united at the front to be able to create something that will help us to achieve these dreams. Another thing that I realized that is failing or that is making us fail is that we refuse to be self-reliant. All right? We are being independent, all right, but we refuse to be self-reliant. So the only thing that we can do in this situation is that, okay, let us do business with them. Let's give them the cocoa. Let them bring the chocolate. Let's give them the timber. Let them use it for whatever they want. And let us just be there. If they are not there, then we are not here. But the Western world and Africa, who even needs it? Our population, about 60% of our population is below the age of 25 or 25 years. When we talk about arable lands, check the continent. Africa has it. We are the second largest continent on the globe. Without us, these guys will go hungry. They can't survive the test. Why do you think they are rushing to Africa? We are not rushing to them. They are coming down to us. Russia, boom. UK, boom. US, boom. Now they even want to impose their culture on us. They need us more than we need them. That is the more reason why we need to forge our mindset to the fact that we are stronger even without them. The moment we begin to think in that direction, we will not begin to send our resources to them to help them to survive at the disadvantage of the continent. So I don't think we even need to be talking about if our products or our businesses are flourishing on the foreign market. That shouldn't be what we should be talking about. To me, the best I think we should be talking about is how best can we help ourselves as a continent to be able to flourish, to be able to do business among ourselves without depending on the foreign market. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Africa has the resources. We just need to be able to do it ourselves. All right. So my next question is for Peter and Job. Do you think we all can leverage together to work as a global anatomy?
Well, it's a question has to be looked at in a very multidimensional perspective. If you look at a music instrument, the piano, it has the white keys and the black keys. Now, when you play the keys together, you can produce sweet melodies. The black keys and the white keys are on the same instrument, and they don't fight, they don't struggle, and they're okay. They're different, but they coexist. The problem is, we live in a world in which people are fighting to survive. It is survival for the fittest. So that our differences matters more than the things that can bring us together. Even here in Africa, pick any African country, you find people fighting over petty things. Even here in Ghana. Yesterday I was moving in town, doing some survey. And I found some people fighting, clashing over petty differences. So we need to learn lessons from the piano. We can be different, but we can coexist. How shall we do that? We need to get to a point whereby we realize that the things that bring us together are more important than all our individual differences combined. In that way, we shall be able to coexist. I have been to some countries. I was in Arab countries, and sometimes when you're there, they give you the impression that you're not needed there. I lived in North Africa for 3 years. And when I was there, I would pray not to fall sick. Because going to the hospital would be a big problem. You would go and the treatment you would get will tell you you're not needed in that part of the world. As you're walking in the streets, somebody tells you go back to Africa. An African living in Egypt, an Egyptian is telling you go back to Africa. Then you look at this Egyptian and you wonder. So we can coexist when we put the things that unite us to be more important than our differences. We shall never eradicate differences in the world, in all sectors, in all areas, at all times. But we must learn to coexist. That way we can be able to survive. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your talk. The piano was a splendid example of how we should coexist together. We can make harmony if we just agree, if we just work together. So, moving on to Freedom Giant Echo. How can we all learn to identify our culture and work in a pluralistic world and work together in a global world?
Pluralistic world. Well, anything plural is more than one. And so, how can we identify our cultures? I think, first of all, I think we can identify our culture through our ideals. First of all, through our ideals. Now, as Pan-Africanists, or as Africans, we have certain ideals that distinguishes us from non-Africans. I cited an example earlier. I traveled sometime, and that connection, that's chemistry, or that perception that Africa is black. Now, once you meet a person and a person is black, what comes to our mind? What comes to mind is, are you an African? Or which country that are you? Affiliate that country to black, maybe American, black, you see, that kind of thing. So our ideals, one, can help us identify cultures globally. Now, the second one I will talk about will be our sense of purpose. The African is solely mindful the African is solely mindful, is more mindful of their surroundings, their immediate surroundings, than the majority. Take our politicians, for example, our African politicians for that matter. Only a few move away from what I'm talking about right now. You realize that our politicians tend to feed their circles, and that if you are not in any way associated with their party colors or with their family traits, then you are not going to benefit from them. And so, talk about our sense of purpose, how you can identify cultures in this pluralistic world and globally. I think one, the ideals, two, the sense of purpose, and then three, I'm thinking our attitudinal traits. As Africans, we love ourselves. But we loving ourselves, there are exceptions. You find yourself in a community or in a white community where you don't even know where your family, where your fellow black is coming from. But as long as the person looks black, you have that attraction, that's goodwill towards that brother or sister. And that is one sole identity about Africans I've come to cherish so much. Should I give you one more reason? It would be maybe our festivals. Identity. We are talking about identity here. And festivals are the, if you like, the cultures or the ideologies of a certain group of people who come together and celebrate a cause. To identify and learn our cultures. I think that in US or is in UK, there's this annual program called Okello. And I think in recent times in Ghana, there was a copyright issues where the Ghana Tourism Authority tried to inculcate or represent such festivals that are done overseas here in Ghana. And there were copyright issues. Now, I think it now has a new name, I think called Afro Nation. It's now called Afro Nation. So this seems to be like a replica for the Western world Okello to Afro Nation. This brings people from all walks of life, come together, and then learn, make merry, take something African away. And so I think for my top of mind, these will be my 4 things that can help us learn to identify our cultures and work together. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That was very interesting. On to our President Isaac. What is your take on the Russian-Ukraine conflict? And also, do you think South Africans' support for the Hamas is in the right direction?
I'll be just short because we have the last sessions to do. But I feel that just talking about the Russian-Ukraine war, I think that's basically it's definitely not the right step for whoever, whether you think you are the most affluent or you think you have the highest GDP or you think whatever, you don't have in any order to gain preponderance over your fellow state. There is no permission that you can use as an antidote to say that you want to claim someone's territory. No. And if we want a fair and a better world, then Russia, no matter whatever stake they have, is in the wrong direction. We must be able to cherish each other. We must be able to value each other. We must be able to appreciate the choices of each other. And if Ukraine wants to lay hold on their independence, Russia has no decision to say that I want to take hold of your territory. Because they were there, right? Ukraine was obviously part of Russia, and due to a whole lot of devastating threats, they said they want to come out. And just simply speaking, they need to be respected. Now, on South Africa and Hamas as well, that issue on Hamas, I feel that South Africa's take is a very proactive approach. You don't need to be near there, or you don't need to be in that situation before you feel like, let me try and help them out. No. If you want to go an anatomy whereby we can be able to all live in a free world and be able to live well without any form of intimidation, then it's in the right step to see an Asian country having support from Guinea, from South Africa, from Mali. And I feel what the Jews are doing is a breach of human rights. No other do they have to do what they are doing. So I just feel that wherever we are, not talking that long, we need to just make sure that we care for each other and stop trying to be patronize people who, if they have wealth, if they have what and what, we try to just support them. No. We need to just make sure we fight for the common cause of our land, and if it's even helping the antelope survive, we need to just do that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And the final question for our special speaker, Mr. Joe. For the American elections, what was your take on President Trump's win and his impact on Africa's integration in world politics?
Well, that's a wonderful question. If you follow the US elections very closely, then you realize that Donald Trump ran his campaign on the basis of America First. So here's a man who has his country at heart, and a man who is going to put America first in all his policies. For me, I'm happy that he won, because there are more lessons for Africa to learn from Trump in the way he deals with policies. Donald Trump said he would put America first. He would fight for America. He would do everything in the best interest of America. Actually, even before Donald Trump, there was a president called Ronald Reagan. He was the 40th president of the US. This man made a statement that America does what is in our best interest. America does what is in our best interest. And this is exactly what Trump is going to do for the US. Now, for us Africans, we should ask this question. Which African president does what is in the best interest of Africa? Which African politician from the great level up to the presidency? That's what is in the best interest of their people. So we are going to see a very radical Trump presidency. I want to see how he is going to shape policies concerning Africa. And I want to see how African presidents are going to react. Because Trump understands that somehow America is losing her grip on Africa. Because China is a very radical key player on the global stage now. In the past 3 weeks, I was on 4 airlines in Africa. In every flight, you find Chinese. And they don't buy first class tickets. Then they back them. Economy tickets. They're there. With their kids. As I land in one country to connect to another, you see Chinese. Some are landing in that country to remain, some are still continuing. There are some who followed me up to Ghana from where I started. So China is so aggressive now. And this is the battle Trump is going to fight to reclaim their position in the world. The problem is, when 2 elephants are fighting, it is the grass that suffers the most. So in this case, the 2 elephants are the US and China. And what is the grass? Africa. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Freedom Andrew, for your very insightful take. So we'll get a very brief statement from each of our panelists on the question, what future do you envisage for the global anatomy? From Mr. Kujo.
Globalization has brought the world together, like the way my brother Job has said. And there is no turning back, right? We are so much connected. Technology and communication has brought us so much together, so that even though we find ourselves in one part of the world or in one part of the continent, we are able to tell what happens in another part of the continent. In the same way, whatever affects one part of the world or the continent happens to affect other parts of the world or the continent. We were here when COVID-19 struck. We thought we were too far away from China. Little did we know that we also become sufferers. We were still here not long from that time when the Russia-Ukraine war also affected us as a people, to the extent that in Ghana, our politics surrounded around that particular issue. When we are hungry, Russia-Ukraine war. When we don't have water, Russia-Ukraine war. So yes, the world, or we humans, are now seen as living organisms. As Herbert Spencer would say, the great philosopher. We need to learn to coexist. Because in as much as I believe that Africans can survive on their own, if it be that we have to work together with the whole analogy, then it shouldn't be that one has to be less important than the other. We must all go to the table having equal interests and finding way to pack them. The global anatomy needs to realize that we all need each other. There is no superior here, neither is there any inferior. Just like the way the human body works, that the nose is as important as the mouth, as it is important like the anus, we must all be able to come together to work towards the survival of the world. Anything short of that, we don't have a choice, but we are all passing towards devastation. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll also be short. All I'll say is that we need to make sure that we take every step we need to take to be able to survive. And in a globalized world, we need to be careful of the risks that we will find in this globalized world, whereby we have to, in as much as we must be able to interrelate, interdepend with each other, we need to fight for our survival. So we must not thrive in an area whereby globalization leads to the suppression of other blocks or facets. We must thrive and make sure we fight for our dignity. And Africa is left behind. We're left behind on all fronts. So the future for the global anatomy is to make sure Africa plays a rightful role. They fight for their true sovereignty. Because right now, in this capitalist world we are in, almost every country, we have foreign companies thriving in Africa. There's nothing wrong because we're all interrelating, but they come here and they do this and they make sure that they exploit the African continent. So we must make sure we have our independence. And if that's going to happen, if they're going to be a fair share of we promoting and encouraging African indigents doing more, then that must be the order of the game. So let us make sure we fight for our survival for the future we want. So that Africa has not become a changed continent. It could be changed, it could be called Eurasia maybe next 5 years. It could be changed to Euro-Africa, not Africa. It could become Euro-Africa because now Europeans may be controlling us. So we need to fight for our survival. Think about the next decade, what is that's ahead of you, and make a change. Thank you.
There was a man called Alexander the Great. This man made a statement one time that upon the conduct of each depends the fate of all. The individual things that we do in the end define our fate. So, where the world will be, what the world will become, will depend on what the individual countries will do. For us as Africans, we must know the comparative advantage that we have over the other continent. And we take advantage of that and we focus on that. We know we have raw materials. We have them. We have minerals in Africa. We know. And this is why the other continents are coming here to conquer us, sponsoring wars and so that they can capture those raw materials. So our strength on the global stage will depend on how we will use what we have. As long as we shall continue trading in the world market, trading raw materials, when they are not processed, we shall never occupy any rightful place on the global stage. When I was coming here, they gave me something to eat on the plane. And they gave me a wiper for cleaning my hand. A wiper. Then I checked. It was made in China. A wiper for just cleaning my hand. Then I was telling my colleague who sat next to me, I said, now, don't we have a company in Africa that can make a mere wiper for cleaning your hand? The butter was from Switzerland. The butter. The biscuit they gave me was from China. I suspected that even the coffee they gave me was grown in Africa but processed outside and sold back to Africa. And we are talking about the African Continental Free Trade Area, where we are supposed to trade among ourselves, remove tariff and non-tariff barriers, and we are buying wipers from China. This is terrible. At home, the key holders we have, plastic key holders, plastic, made in China. Plastic key holders. I went to a restaurant here. They gave me toothpicks, made in China. Don't we have forests in Africa here? There's no company in Africa that can make toothpicks that we can buy. I believe that. So these simple things, these petty things will determine where we will be in future as Africa. Because if we still continue importing key holders, toothpicks, chicken. I went to a supermarket yesterday, here, to do a survey. Then I asked someone there, I said, I need chicken. Then she asked me, what kind of chicken? From where? Chicken from where? I said, which chickens do you have? We have chicken from Brazil, from Ghana here. The chicken from Brazil. So that if I come to Ghana and I go to the supermarket looking for chicken, so I have to make a choice between chicken from Brazil and chicken from Ghana. So we need to wake up as Africa. Because if petty things like, we can grow chicken here. We can manufacture our own toothpicks. We can do that. At least that one we can do. The future of the world will be determined by those who will venture into serious manufacturing. And we are not there as Africa. There is no meaningful manufacturing taking place in any African country as we speak now. So manufacturing, using advanced technology, incorporating artificial intelligence will determine where the world will be. And if Africa should ever occupy any serious place on the global stage, then we must venture into serious manufacturing. We must make use of the advanced technologies. We can go outside and learn how to make those picks in China. Then we come and make them here. We can go and learn how to make wipers in China. Then we come and make them here. So that the next time we board Ethiopian Airlines, they give you wipers made in Ghana. That would be our pride. Biscuits made in Uganda. We have companies that make biscuits in Uganda. I was wondering why we're buying from China. So if the African continental free trade area is to make sense, then we need to start buying these simple things from the countries that are manufacturing them in Africa. Otherwise, we are going nowhere. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
To whom much is given, much is expected. I'll best to the AU, the African Union, that the future I envisage for the world is for the AU, the EAU, the EA, the ECOWAS, and its sub-agencies and bodies to use the comparative advantage in the corporate world to share the resources, the national cake, so that those at the down levels would benefit from the so-called national cake, and that we all will live peacefully. So I'm tagging this once again to the AU and its bodies to function well, to have a better world and a better Africa. Thank you.
Thank you very much to all our panelists today for your very insightful thoughts, for sharing with us your vision for Africa. And thank you very much to our special speaker, Mr. Job. We've really been an honor having you here. You are very, very insightful. All right. So, if you would like to take any last words from our president, so we can close up.
Feel that all that we've said must just be taken with deep thought. We feel, in as much as there's going to be a competition of whatever takes place, we must seek for our relevance, not for preponderance, for our relevance. So wherever you are, think deep and make sure whatever you are doing is leading to the African uprising. Otherwise, in the future, you don't know where your children, your sons, your daughters may be thrown to. So let us be very proactive and take such decisions. And we are once again humbled that you've taken your time to listen to us. As if this was just a pedestal to our elders who are coming to speak on this platform. So we are humbled and we entreat all of us to be very resolute in the future ahead. Thank you.